Hey guys, it's John here. We are out in the garden today, just enjoying the beautiful weather. It rained last night, so it's a little bit cooler today. Absolutely love it. The plants loved it, and it was so fun to see some thunder, some lightning, some actual weather here. So we really enjoyed it. So on today's agenda today, we are starting some Snapdragons from seed. Snapdragons are a beautiful line flower that grow all winter and spring long here in zone 9B. They love the cooler months, so we like to plant them outside in the fall so they can establish all winter long and bloom their best come spring. Our goal is to plant our Snapdragons outside in October and November, so usually August and September are a great time to start our seeds indoors. The seeds are really tiny, so they can kind of be tricky to navigate in terms of planting, but they're pretty easy to grow, and we love having them in our garden every year. There's so many beautiful varieties that we'll go over when we're starting to plant them, and there's always new varieties that we're always trying out every year, but Snapdragons are just such an easy flower to grow once they get going. And what is the spring without Snapdragons? Let's go grab some materials that we need to start our seeds. This is some of the seed starting mix that we used yesterday. It is a little bit pre-moistened, which is great. I think we need a little bit more though. Used this SunGrow professional growing mix. We buy it in a large brick form from our local nursery, but really any seed starting mix will do. You just want to make sure it's seed starting mix and not potting soil. Potting soil is a little bit heavier than seed starting mix, and you want these plants to dry out as quick as possible when you're starting your seeds. So the seed starting mix is super light, it dries out quickly, which is perfect for starting seeds. And really, there's a lot of different ways you can start your seeds and still get the same effects. We are used to starting our seeds on a very kind of a larger scale because we used to grow a ton of cut flowers. So we grew a ton of our own seedlings for that. And we wanted to do it as economical as possible, but also grow a ton of them. So we typically use these cell trays. We get them from a greenhouse megastore, and these cell trays are really convenient. They're really nice. And we have one caveat with them. We have to put them on, this is a 10-20 tray. So typically when you put your cells on the tray, it fits around the lip really nicely, but the caveat is that the bottom of the cells sits halfway up here. So there's this weird gap in between here that you don't really want, because you're going to want to underwater, and obviously it has really good drainage when you do it this way, but you're going to have to top water, and we don't want to top water. So what we do is we trim the edges of this all the way around so that they sit flat like this. So this one's trimmed, and when you put it in the tray, it'll sit nice and flat, so you can underwater it, and then it soaks up the water from there. Now in this one tray, there is 128 cells. 128 plants can fit in this one cell tray. If you're a home gardener, you probably don't need the 128. A 72 tray might be good enough for you. The cells will be bigger. Sometimes we'll use this 50 tray too, depending on what we're growing. The 50 just means that there's 50 cells in the tray. The less cells that are in the tray, the bigger each cell is, because each tray is around the same size. Okay, so far we have our 10-20 tray on the bottom, and then we have our cell tray that in here. So now we're going to fill the cell tray with seed starting mix. So this seed starting mix we did pre-moisten, and this is a great stage to use it at. You can make a ball out of it like this, but it's not sopping wet, it's not sogging everywhere. This is a really great stage to fill your trays with. So we're gonna fill it up, and I'll show you guys kind of what it looks like at the end. We usually just fill it up like this and then tap it down a little bit, just because sometimes there's quite a bit of air bubbles in there. So you don't wanna compress your soil completely, but you want it to be kind of compacted a little bit. I guess firm to the touch. Okay, the tray is filled with soil, and now it's ready to plant our seeds. Let's go upstairs and grab our seeds. Here are the Snapdragon seeds. We have a couple different varieties here. This is the Madame Bronze White. This one has a double bloom with kind of a bronzy white marbling in it. This is probably one of my top like two favorites. It's just so pretty. That peach color on it is absolutely mesmerizing. This one's the Madame Cherry Bronze. So this one kind of has that same double bloom to it. It almost looks like a stock flower, the doubleness of these Snapdragons. But this one has like a deeper, rich, like cherry bronze color. Absolutely beautiful as well. Chantilly pink. This one's a open face Snapdragon. So it has that open face bloom to it with like the cotton candy pink color to it. Another really pretty one. I love pink, especially in springtime. And this one is just so, so pretty. It's almost empty, but this is Chantilly salmon. It has that same open face bloom as the Chantilly pink does, but this one has kind of like an ombre from coral to salmon to peach. It's absolutely beautiful. Definitely like one of our favorites that florists always ask for every single year. This is Potomac Apple Blossom. So this one has that classic Snapdragon like structure to it. That one that you can kind of like move with your hands and make it talk. Love these. This one is more like pinky blush color that is really cute. I feel like this one's kind of like more of like an all-time classic, and that's why like I have found a lot more older clientele has absolutely loved these Potomac Apple Blossom Snapdragons. This is Potomac Lavender, the same structure, classic structure of Snapdragon, with more of like a lavender, like mauve lavender tone. This color is sometimes really hard to find in flowers that are not like straight up lavender, so having a lavender Snapdragon is absolutely perfect to have in the spring months. Potomac Orange. I feel like a lot of people get turned away by like an orange flower like this in the springtime, but this one's more of like a pinky orange, so that one's really cute. Then we have Legend Light Pink. I know it says light pink in the name, but it's more of like a translucent lavender. Absolutely stunning. I loved growing this one. This one's a little bit shorter than like all the other Snapdragons, but honestly, it's still long enough if you need it for like a cut flower. We're not making like 3-foot tall arrangements in our house, but really great. If you want like a nice bedding flower, I think the Legend Light Pink would be a great choice. Okay, the next one is Twinny Rose. Now we have not grown the Twinny Rose before, but it's kind of like a shorter statured Snapdragon, so about 10 to 14 inches tall. Kind of has that semi-double bloom, so not like fully double, but it's like an open face bloom. I don't know what exactly the structure petal is like, but it's super unique, super cool, and I'm so excited to try the rose because we had so much luck with the Twinny Peach one, the Twinny Peach, and that one, oh my gosh, absolutely beautiful. We had it in the container garden, we planted it in clients' beds. The one thing with Twinny Snapdragons though, I feel like they take a little bit longer to establish. I feel like they do nothing for a while, like they're just growing roots and growing leaves, and then all of a sudden, once spring comes, they're just like exploding with color. So anyways, those are the Snapdragons that we have, and now it's time to pick the ones that we need to start from seed. So yesterday I started the Madame Bronze and the Chantilly Salmon. So today I think I'm gonna start some Legend Light Pink and some Potomac Lavender. Okay, we actually grabbed the Cherry Bronze, the Madame Cherry Bronze as well, and the Chantilly Salmon, just because we have 25 seeds in a packet and there's 128 cells in here. So we're gonna put 25 of 5 different colors, and that should be enough to fill most of the tray. But we did grab this little SD card holder, like the lid of it. This is gonna be great to put our seeds on, and then we grabbed a toothpick. I'll show you guys what we're gonna use the toothpick for in a second. We're gonna start off with the Potomac Lavender Snapdragons. We're gonna open all of these up. We have all of our seeds available on our website, so definitely check them out. All of our favorite varieties are gonna be linked down below for you guys. We have a ton of other flowers too as well, like foxgloves. We have Crispedia, violas, status, just tons of flowers. So if you guys want some seeds for your garden, check them out. Now's a great time to plant your cool season crops, especially if you live in a warm climate. Fall is the best time to plant a lot of your cool season flowers. We have everything categorized in cool season and warm season, so it makes it really easy for you guys to find. Okay, so we have our lid right here, and then we have our seeds. They all come with this vial to make them easier to like see and plant because they are pretty tiny. So what we do is we dump them on this lid, and really you guys can use anything. This just makes it really easy for us to see them. So we can take them out. You guys see these little specks here? Each little speck is a seed. So I know they look very similar to little dirt specks. So that's why it's important to be really careful when you're planting these. So we're gonna grab our toothpick. Okay, so we have our toothpick. So usually what we do is we just wet it with our mouth a little bit. And then we're going to take each seed. So once it's wet, you can take it and just literally dab it on the seed here, and then the seed is going to stick to the toothpick. So what we're going to do after that is just brush it on each cell here. So this takes a little bit of time to do, so we're going to finish up planting this entire tray, and then I'll show you guys what we do at the end. Just use it as a really relaxing activity to do, because sometimes things like this can be a little bit tedious, but I promise it is so worth it. And most of you guys are not planting an entire tray like this. We're just doing like a packet or two. In that case, you know, you can always buy like 4 6-packs to do a seed packet. That would be absolutely perfect. Of course, we have to label every seed so we know what is what. Okay, we finished planting all of our seeds. We're gonna give everything a really good mist right now. And we like to go to every single cell just to make sure the seeds have been planted and they're kind of flush with the soil. This will help increase germination. And also misting the soil really, really well helps the seeds kind of like settle in the soil so that you know, they have more contact with the soil, which will definitely help aid in germination. And I did forget to mention that we put 1 seed in each cell. We usually have really good germination rates on all of our Snapdragons. So we just put 1 in each cell so we don't have to thin them out later on. Some people will recommend putting 2 in each cell. You can definitely do that. You know, you might not even have to thin them out if you're planting them a little bit farther apart. Sometimes I've gotten away with that in our flower field, just planting 2, like keeping 2 plants in a cell and then just spacing them a little bit farther out in the garden. Snapdragons do need light to germinate, so we just surface sowed them earlier on when we just put them on top of the soil. And we didn't bury them. That's why these seeds are so tiny. Usually the small seeds need a little bit of light to germinate, and we sprinkled the vermiculite on top. That's still going to allow the light to reach the seed, and it's going to allow it to sprout like that. So there's quite a few seeds that are planted the exact same way, like foxgloves. I think Curspedia is grown that way, maybe not. Celosia seeds are grown that way. And I'm trying to think what else. Oh, straw flowers. So you can all start those flowers the exact same way as your Snapdragon. Okay, next we are going to sprinkle some vermiculite on top of the seeds. Usually I use a fine vermiculite that usually does a little bit better. Vermiculite is optional, but vermiculite definitely helps with algae growth, which I love using, especially on seeds that take a little bit longer to germinate and kind of grow, you know, like the Lisianthus, Snapdragons. So we're going to sprinkle just a fine layer of vermiculite, and then we're going to bring them upstairs. Okay, we are upstairs in the grow room. We did place a humidity dome on here. This will help aid in germination and increase humidity so that these seeds sprout really, really quickly. We will take these off once they germinate. Usually once they start to put on some true leaves, we'll take them off, or once they start to hit the top here. We did plant one up yesterday as well, and these were some other varieties that we planted. Chat about these grow racks for a second, because these were just a 6-shelf grow rack that we split into 2. So there's 2 shelves, one to store like trays and stuff like that, and then we have the space where we put our plants, and then the top up here. This was really easy way to find to make these racks here, because they're pretty cheap on Amazon. And these lights were so bright. These are Mars Hydro grow lights, and they work really, really well. The one thing that is unfortunate is that they did discontinue this particular model. So the Mars Hydro grow lights are actually really, really strong lights. So that's why we have them a fair distance away from the plants. I have found that my plants have not gotten leggy whatsoever. If anything, the light might be a little too bright sometimes, so that's why we keep it pretty high, and we never have to raise and lower the lights. So they work really, really well. The only caveat is that they discontinued this particular model. So we are on the hunt for a new grow light. If you guys have any suggestions on really good grow lights that we can use in the future once these, I mean, I think they're gonna last a long time, but if they ever stop working, I would love some recommendations for some new grow lights. So definitely leave your recommendations down below. I'd love to try some out. But you can even use like fluorescent lights and keep them really, really close to the plant lights or to the the humidity dome. That's going to give some really good strong light to your plants. That's the one thing about growing things indoors, is that you want to give them really, really strong light so they don't get leggy, because sometimes leggy plants can really outgrow their space really quickly because they're just stretching and searching for light. So strong light is important. Put them under some nice grow light so that they germinate really nicely. So we should see some germination within the next week or so on these Snapdragons. And typically we like to start them about 6 to 8 weeks before we transplant them outside. I know most seed packets say it's 8 to 10 weeks, but our grow room is actually fairly warm. It's probably in like the mid to upper 70s consistently. So they usually germinate really quickly and grow really quickly in the fall. So we usually have much faster turnaround times this time of year. So we aim to plant these outside probably like mid-October. I'm hoping maybe early October. So anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on how these are growing. And yeah, I'm so excited. The cooler weather is just around the corner and we're going to plant so many fun things in our garden. And I'll definitely show you guys all the fun things we're planting. So thanks for watching and I'll see y'all in our next video.